coming up on BCN today. Police crack down on rail blockades and make more protester arrests overnight. Plus, a woman in Ontario becomes Canada's 12th coronavirus case. And it's Pink Shirt Day. Local organizations show solidarity against bullying.
Your Canada. Your Southern Alberta. Your stories. From our studios in the heart of Lethbridge, it's BCN Today with Jeanette Roche.
Hello, and thanks for joining us. Police, fire, and ambulance were on the scene of a collision this morning just before 8 a.m. It happened near the corner of Welsh and University Drive West. No word from police on the seriousness of the incident or if there were any injuries involved. There were two tow trucks on the scene as well. Police in the Raymond and McGrath area are asking for our help in identifying a suspect in connection with a robbery that occurred Monday afternoon. RCMP say around 2:40 p.m. they received a call about a bank being robbed in McGrath. The suspect jumped over the counter, confronted employees, grabbed an undisclosed amount of cash, and took off on foot. The suspect is described as a white man around 6 feet tall, wearing a tan-colored jacket, tan work boots, orange work gloves, a black mask, and sunglasses. If you can help police, call Crime Stoppers at the number on your screen. I hope you grabbed a pink shirt today because today is Pink Shirt Day. Wearing the color pink is a symbol to stand up against bullying. The National Anti-Bullying Campaign began in 2007 when a student in Nova Scotia was bullied for wearing a pink shirt to school. Tonight, the Boys and Girls Club of Lethbridge and District is holding an event at the Galt Museum to show their solidarity. The I Stand Against Bullying event runs from 7 till 9 p.m. this evening. The Boys and Girls Club also had a youth conference on Lethbridge College's campus Tuesday. This one was called I Stand Against Media Manipulation and was filled with a day of digital, media, and civic literacy workshops. There were opportunities aimed at lessening the impact of misinformation, polarization, and disengagement.
So I Stand Against, this year we were doing an event based on media manipulation is what our theme was for this year. So just talking to young people about fake news, learning how to figure out algorithms, kind of weed out things that they know to be true and not to be true on the internet, being aware of those kind of warning signs about knowing that your stuff is factual. And just giving them some information about privacy and stuff that maybe they didn't know about, especially with their social media and stuff like that.
Alberta politicians returned to the legislature for the throne speech yesterday with a promise of a new legislation targeting protesters who set up blockades. Premier Jason Kenney said he was going to table a bill calling for stiffer penalties for anyone who riots on or who seeks to impair critical economic infrastructure, including railways. Kenney has been critical of protesters who have set up blockades on rail lines in support of the hereditary chiefs of the Wet'suwet'en First Nation. Toronto police arrested 3 people overnight as they removed protesters from a rail line west of the city. The group was blocking a commuter rail link to support hereditary chiefs of the Wet'suwet'en First Nation in BC who are fighting a natural gas pipeline being built on their land. A blockade remains along a highway near the site of an ongoing land dispute in Caledonia, Ontario, but a blockade has been removed near Sherbrooke, Quebec, about 150 kilometers east of Montreal. Protesters also set up a blockade earlier this week on a popular commuter rail line near Hamilton, Ontario, halting passenger train service. About a dozen people gathered near the tracks.
We currently continue to monitor the situation, and at this point in time, the protesters have been served with an injunction by CN Rail, and we are encouraging them to abide by that injunction and to leave the area peacefully. Right now, we're monitoring the situation. I can't forecast the timeline. What's important here is that we'll continue to maintain a peaceful environment.
The Canadian Federation of Agriculture says the sector is feeling the effects of the blockades and is near the tipping point. CFA President Mary Robinson says farmers and other producers want decisive action from Ottawa to prevent such rail disruptions in the future.
Every person here with me, as well as their communities, are being severely and harshly impacted by the rail blockades. We have nothing to do with this dispute. The widespread collateral damage of these protests is grinding our entire industry to a halt and is taking a massive toll on farmers across the country.
A woman in her 60s who recently traveled to Iran has been diagnosed with Ontario's 5th case of the novel coronavirus. She arrived at a Toronto hospital on Monday and is now in self-isolation at home. Toronto Public Health is looking into people she came into contact with. This is the 12th case of COVID-19 in Canada. Foreign Affairs Minister Francois-Philippe Champagne is advising Canadians to check before you go when it comes to the coronavirus and traveling overseas. The advice comes before March break when many Canadians love to travel.
The best advice I can give to Canadians watching at home is make sure you check before you go. That's the best advice I can give. We've seen new places where the coronavirus has expanded in South Korea. We saw in Italy today, not only the north of Italy, but we saw Sicily and Tuscany. We've seen what's happening in Iran. So the best advice I can give, obviously we will update our travel advice based on science, based on data. I've been in touch with foreign ministers in different countries. We are coordinating our response like we did for the first time. But for those watching at home today, I would say before you book, just make sure you check. That would be the best advice I can give now because this thing is a very dynamic situation.
Canadians and their families who were flown home from Wuhan, China 2 weeks ago have been released from quarantine. They spent that time at CFB Trenton, Ontario, being monitored for any symptoms of the virus. Tokyo Olympic organizers and the Japanese government abruptly called a news conference to dispute comments from a Canadian senior member of the International Olympic Committee. Yesterday, Richard Pound said the 2020 Games were being threatened by the spread of the new coronavirus. Tokyo Organizing Committee CEO Toshiro Muto said officials plan to go ahead with the Olympic and Paralympic Games as scheduled, but he admitted the situation is difficult to predict. The University of Nebraska Medical Center is enrolling adults diagnosed with the coronavirus for a new clinical drug trial to treat the disease.
The plan for the trial is to test in close to 400 patients. The trial is going to involve about 50 sites globally. Half of the group is going to have the medication, the other half is going to receive the placebo medication. This medication has been tested in the other coronaviruses that we had in the past, and it seems to have definitely a solid in vitro activity, and also studies in animals have shown activity of the medication, but we don't know if the medication will have the same effect in human beings, and that's why we need to test in this randomized trial. But we want to really catch these patients nice and early to give them the best chance to have the positive effects of any treatment.
Meantime, Pope Francis is praying for the victims of the new virus and the health professionals treating them. The Vatican is going ahead with plans for the Pope to celebrate the Ash Wednesday ritual that begins Lent season, despite concerns about the coronavirus. But elsewhere in Italy, masses are canceled. Italy has the most cases of COVID-19 outside of Asia. Worries over the economic fallout from the disease are also multiplying, hitting stock markets hard. Stocks slumped again on Wall Street Tuesday, piling on losses a day after the market's biggest drop in 2 years as fears spread that the growing virus outbreak will put the brakes on the global economy.
It was a tough day in the markets today. We were down about 3% in the main indexes. It's the second day running of pretty steep declines. The main reason here is that the market's really kind of waking up to the fact that the economic effects of the coronavirus infection are not really understood very well yet. They could be worse going down the line than the most optimistic projections. The bond market is signaling a lot of caution. A lot of people are plowing money into government bonds because they figure it's the safest place for money to be. They're pulling money out of stocks, and these markets watch each other. So when the stock market looks to the bond market and says, oh, wait a second, these bond investors are feeling very cautious. They're anticipating slower economic growth, we need to pay attention. And if those trends continue, we could have a lot more cautious, perhaps volatile trading until things change, until there's a different kind of news coming from the health authorities about the virus.
China is spending around $14 billion US on combating the virus. BCN caught up with Foreign Affairs expert Lisa Daftari to find out what the money is going towards specifically.
In China, they're probably spending that money on research, on quarantining, on really getting the resources to stop this, because it sounds as though it's spreading faster than they're able to contain this virus. It's spreading not only throughout the country, but in the region and into other continents, including the Middle East, into Europe. Of course, here in the United States, we've had some cases. So it's not looking good. It looks like this virus is moving much faster than those who seek to stop it.
Lisa will have more on just how fast the coronavirus is spreading around the world in the second half of our show. The Liberal government has introduced legislation aimed at making it easier for ill Canadians to get medical help to end their lives. Alex Schadenberg is the executive director of Euthanasia Prevention Coalition. Schadenberg says this new legislation by Ottawa is not something Canadians should be celebrating.
Well, the legislation on euthanasia is a bit of a smokescreen. So what they've done is they've said that they're going to prevent people with mental illness from having euthanasia, but in fact, the law doesn't actually prevent people from mental illness from having euthanasia. So it's a bit of a smokescreen. The second thing they're doing is they're waiving this 10-day waiting period for people who are terminally ill. But you got to understand, the will to live for people fluctuates, and studies have proven that people change their minds. And so this denies the person an ability to change their mind, because what happens now is they could ask for euthanasia in the morning, and in the evening they could die by lethal injection.
Snowfall warnings and special weather statements have increased from southwestern Ontario to eastern Newfoundland as a storm sweeps up from the U.S., but it's beginning to look a lot like spring here in southern Alberta. I'll have a full look at weather coming up right after the break. Stay with us. And happy hump day, everyone. Here's our weather highlights for today and tomorrow in Lethbridge. Today, we could, it's deceiving. It looks beautiful outside, but we could see actually a 30% chance of rain or showers later on today. The high today, though, is 8 degrees, and we're going to sink down to -1 overnight. And into tomorrow, we could climb up into the double digits with 11 degrees for a high on a Thursday. And into the rest of the weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, lots of sunshine in the forecast. Double digits forecasted again for Friday with a high of 12 degrees. 7 degrees is the high for Saturday, and Sunday's high 5 degrees. Then we're going to climb again into double digits, hopefully, fingers crossed, for Monday, with scattered clouds and lots of sunshine there. The almanac highs and lows for this time of year, 3 being the high temperature, -9 the lowest. But back in 1992, on this day, the high temperature was recorded at 20 degrees. Lovely. -34 was the chilliest day, and that happened in 1947. The sun rose this morning at 7:21 a.m., and it will be setting at 6:07 p.m. this evening. Now, let's look to the highs across the nation, looking to the west coast. Mix of sun and cloud expected in Victoria with high of 10 degrees, 9 expected in Vancouver. They are expecting some periods of showers, too. Lots of sunshine up in Edmonton with a high of 3. 5 degrees is expected to be the high today in Calgary with a mix of sun and cloud. We are expecting some flurries in Saskatoon with a high of -4. -5 is the high in Regina. They could see some flurries as well. Now, Winnipeg's high today is -11, a little bit chillier. Over in this whole area, Toronto, Ottawa, and Montreal, they are seeing snowfall today, and there are some snowfall warnings in effect expected to begin tonight and into tomorrow. This whole region could see from 10 centimeters all the way up to 40 centimeters of snow by tomorrow. Same thing for Fredericton. They are expecting 20 to 30 centimeters of snow tomorrow. Today, though, that's not going to start till tonight. Mix of sun and cloud in Charlottetown with a high of 0. 8 degrees expected in Halifax. And it is snowing as well in St. John's today with a high of 2 degrees. There you go. That is your weather. Here's a look at your community
Here's
calendar.
your Bridge City News community calendar. Men, young and old alike, are invited to come join the Lethbridge Christian Men's Choir. Practices are held every Thursday from 7:30 to 9 p.m. at Trinity Reformed Church. The choir practices are in preparation for spring concerts as well as occasional performances at the hospital and seniors' homes. For more information, call 403-328-7985. The Kinsman Club of Lethbridge invites you to their 6th annual Mardi Gras Charity Gala on Saturday, March 14th at the Sandman Signature Lethbridge Lodge. The evening begins at 5 p.m. where you can enjoy the ambiance of the French Quarter, which will also feature a 5-course Cajun meal, games and entertainment, a silent auction, dance, and much more. Tickets are $80 and can be purchased at eventbrite.ca. Proceeds to go towards the Ready, Set, Go Back to School fair. For event details, visit the Kinsman Club of Lethbridge's Facebook page. And that's your Bridge City News community calendar.
Well, we like to sometimes have some fun when it comes to our light-hearted stories. And a physics-savvy person wrote this one on how to avoid having to pay for red light tickets. Simply do this. Just drive your vehicle past 184 million kilometers per hour. This velocity shift will blue shift the red lights into appearing green. You could get a hefty speeding ticket still, so don't try it. Trust us. If that joke left you a little bit disappointed, here's a way to fix a broken laptop hinge. Simply tape a cardboard photo frame from the back of the monitor and prop it up. There you go. That's been your daily life hack. Where do they come up with these things? A leading endocrinologist says that owning a dog can be protective against dying of almost any cause. If you're looking to live longer, then look no further than BCN's Pet Feature.
This pet feature is brought to you by Aquasteam Services, carpet, upholstery, and tile care.
Hello, I'm Skylar Plord, Animal Control Officer with Lethbridge Animal Services. Today's pet feature is Buster. Buster is a very friendly 2-year-old pit bull cross. He came to us back in January and is now ready for adoption. He's been neutered, microchipped, and vaccinated. If you're interested, come down to the animal shelter, spend some time with him, and if you think it's going to be a good fit for your family, we'll help you fill out the application. Of course, you can view all of our adoptable pets through our Facebook page at facebook.com/Lethbridge Animal Services.
This pet feature has been brought to you by Aquasteam Services, carpet, upholstery, and tile care. Experience the clean difference.
Let's hope Buster gets a home soon. Well, it looks like everything gets its day. Did you know that there's a National Pancake Day? Well, there is. It was Tuesday, and IHOP was giving away flapjacks in honor of it. The restaurant chain was giving customers a free short stack of buttermilk pancakes at participating locations. BCN's Loris Alexander stopped by the IHOP in Lethbridge to grab a stack and explain how it's all for a good cause.
National Pancake Day is the perfect excuse to load up on carbs for a good cause.
We're celebrating our National Pancake Day today, February 25th, and it runs from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And we're supporting our Children's Miracle Network, especially our own Children's Hospital in Alberta, here from Calgary.
Voluntary donations will benefit Children's Miracle Network hospitals in the 7th annual celebration in Canada. We spoke with patrons at IHOP and what tickles their fancy about pancakes.
I like pancakes with butter and syrup.
It looks like, let's see, the butter pecan is my favorite. Yeah.
Is that your short stack?
Yeah. It's free.
So I'm here with Rowan from IHOP, who's going to teach me how to flip some pancakes. Rowan, how long have you been working here for?
Almost 4 years. This May will be 4 years.
And so this would probably make you an expert a lot more than me, right?
Probably.
Okay, let's dive right in. Okay. So what am I doing?
You're going to want to just loosen them so you don't dig into it. So if you just loosen it, it makes it easier to flip it.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you just do side to side, and then you can flip it.
And
More than $425,000 has been raised since the inception of IHOP National Pancake Day in 2014. Just a tasty way to give back. For Bridge City News, I'm Loris Alexander.
Thank you, Loris. You can come over to my house and make me some pancakes now that you're an expert. Well, Samaritan's Purse President Franklin Graham and his wife Jane, along with musical artist Michael W. Smith, traveled to Guam this past Saturday to help hand out gift-filled Operation Christmas Child shoeboxes at Life in the Sun Christian Fellowship in Tamaning the day before the trio assisted in distributing shoeboxes on nearby Saipan.
Hello, I'm Franklin Graham. Right now, I'm on an island here in the Pacific called Guam. So we're here with Operation Christmas Child. The kids are so excited. Michael W. Smith was with me. We had the opportunity to hand out some of the boxes and just sit down and look at the kids and talk to them and see what's in their boxes. There's so much joy, so much just happiness. And it gives us an opportunity to present the gospel. Well, what did you get in your box? Let's see. You got Minnie Mouse. You got that too?
You like red? You got the right watch.
And we pray that these boxes will be used to bring a lot of happiness and joy, but more importantly, the gospel to each heart of all these little children around the world, but especially here in the Pacific. So thank you. Thank you for the boxes. God bless.
And it's exciting for me to see that footage because I used to live on Saipan, the neighboring island. Well, China is spending just over $14 billion to try and curb the coronavirus. Our foreign affairs expert, Lisa Daftari, will have more details coming up right after this short break. Stay with us.